Hey, yo, it's SABC 6, hip hop on the grind. You're watching Industry in the Streets. SABC 6 is Lwazi. That's the name I was given, which is interesting because, I really like knowledge. As more they call your name, I guess that's why abantu abamnyama do how they do in naming their kids, because I believe I live by my name. Actually, I know that I live by my name. And I grew up in a lot of spots, I'm South Art to the fullest, I'd like to think, because I've stayed in Tri-Cities, which is the three capitals in SA. I was born in exile, grew up Jersey, went to Cape Town, stayed in Cape Town. And when I'm saying stay, this is all staying. It's not like young here, you there, like staying for a huge amount of time in school. And then came back to Joburg. Home is Eastern Cape. That's home. Both my peeps are from EC, and they met in Jersey, and also they villages are also not far apart, which is also another galaxy type thing, because then they meet in Jersey and yet they so close in Eastern Cape where they stay. So me, I didn't grow up in Eastern Cape, so I kind of grew up in Joburg, Cape Town, and later stages after high school. Mpumalanga too, had a little stint in Mpumalanga with Bank, stayed in Durban too for like 8 years, and I came back to Joburg. And how I interacted with, I guess how I came to be in touch with hip hop was endlini. Like, I grew up in a house where there's my pops, there was always records. There was like Millie Jackson. As a kid, I saw that Millie Jackson cover, where she's sitting in the toilet, where she's back to that rap shit. I think that's the name of the LP. Your Kenny G. I grew up in Cape Town seeing those records, Kenny G, seeing the covers were also what brought me into, I guess, art and graphic design, because looking at covers were very interesting of these LPs, and you'd see Sarafina records, Black Mambazo, and from that same time, within that framework, is when Channel O just started, because TV Access used to watch SABC, I think it was 2 or 3. They had it with some late night, they used to play some hip hop, and then I guess it got cut or something. Then Channel O came in. I don't remember the year, but when Channel came in, it changed everything, because the reggae, it just first started reggae, some hip hop, and I was like, what is this? And growing up in Cape Town also, it's around you, because like Obo Tupac, as kids, we used to be like, all eyes zombie, saying zombie instead of all eyes on me. Call the cops when you see Tupac, And we used to say call 10-111 if you see Tupac. So that being around in Cape Town, that energy of Tupac, it was so immense where you couldn't avoid hip hop. And then now you see it on Channel O, and then it's just now you stuck like in that bubble, and that's where I find myself.
Yeah. So now, do you see yourself as more of a lyricist, performer, or storyteller, or a mix of all?
I see myself as a mix of everything, because there's points where I've been a lyricist, strictly lyricist, coming from that underground school of thought, and then moving to, even if you listen to Dead Prez, Animal Farm, that's some storytelling on a very beautiful level, how they tell the Animal Farm story. Even that type of writing for me is I added within. So it's a mixture of, it takes you to be consistent. It takes you to be authentic. It takes you to be different. It takes you to not want to sound like anybody. It takes you to not want to be the same. It takes you to be you versus you, because I think there's too many people who sound the same. Even Lana, within our own underground sections or hip hop ciphers where we hear each other, but there's no need to sound like Westside Gun or any American or even another rapper local. You need to sound like yourself. You need to carve out that work. And it's a lot of work, but it will pay off, if you, as I said, consistent, and authentic. Those are my two words for it. You just need to operate on that level, and you have to have a job, my nigga, and get that money up and fund your own things, because if you are looking for handouts, it's just gonna frustrate you. And in this day and age, you can try and make those spaces where you work and you do your music, so that you don't get schneid. It's very important because there's a lot of money to be made in hip hop, and to create a hip hop economy. I mean, the school of hip hop itself should be having advertising agencies. Because think about it, in an ad agency, they want copywriters. You have MCs who think on the spot lyrically, and these brands are also targeting young people. So you have graffiti writers who could be, and who some, not everyone, but those who are good in graphics can be, because you're applying that same technology or thoughts in that agency environment. I mean, you can have creative directors. There's so many people within the hip hop frame that can actually, just as an ad agency, who would be killing adverts, TVCs, who'd be killing the billboards with graffiti. Just another form of realm of imagination. And I think once we can take this hip hop thing, fashion, I didn't even get there. I mean, fashion, hip hop is like the father of fashion in terms of influencing the kids, So that in itself, having a hip hop fashion stables of fashion designers, etc. Yeah, so the Mago House, my company, and I guess what I'm trying to do at large is that to create spaces. I guess it ties into the previous message where Off the Hook itself as a platform that creates different streams of platforms via the podcast, which I found necessary to establish because I kept looking and there was always this thing, you can't be a rapper and a podcaster but I'm like, who's out there, and then who's out there who's going to interview Emphatic Tabs? I don't see it. Who's going to interview Eric Mieni, Molofish? I don't see. So I have to kind of take that and to also hear from them the hip hop perspectives. It's like I had to establish that so it exists. Did I want to be the podcaster who does it? No, but it's hard. Hard work is lonely. And sometimes you can't give those responsibilities to other people because they might not get executed the way you want. So I had to take that responsibility and be like, you know what? I'm going to do this. As much as MC, I wouldn't want to be doing a podcast interviewing other acts. I'm a performer too, but I'm like, I have to do it because who's going to capture this information? So that's for that, and I'm hoping for it to grow in different sections, where we can have, where there's other like different platforms of it. I'll just say that for now, because there's biters out there. And then I'm gonna move on to then there's the music, which I'm really working on a baby in terms of a label. I know people say record labels are dead and all that stuff, so I'm working on a label, off the record, It's long been a thing of mine, and I think I found an artist who, off the record, I want to work with, and be producing that, and also my work coming out from a stable, because I feel like right now our music is coming out just on this digital streaming platforms. There isn't a centered place, and that's my next step in doing that. And as fashion too, like off the line, the clothing and Amagu, the clothing brand. I had to take a break from it because I had to it's very hard out there to get what you want in the space of fashion, because we are not the economy controllers. Wherever we go, who we buying the fabric from is not us. So we always at a disadvantage. You're gonna either here Commissioner Street, we know who we're buying the fabrics from. We've been swindled because all this thing is from China. We're not coming together as collectives and actually getting our own fabric or making it. So I'm trying to move away from fabric that does not belong to me and actually really doing printing on the fabric, getting it as plain as it is. So that too is something which I'm really working on behind the scenes and want to launch it correctly. Actually, I got 3 websites that are going to be launching soon, and they'll be in detail of everything that I do. But yeah, that's some of the things that I do. Oh, I also do events. Off the Hook. Off the Hook started in Durban as an event, right? So that was way back when I was in Durban. We've had Ben Sharper at Off the Hook. We've had Robo, the technician. We've had so many amazing people, even in Durban, artists, Ewak. So from then on, when I left Durban, I kept on. I did the shows in Kospotong, and then it has just grown and evolved. So this is where we're at, and the most rewarding moment in my career in hip hop, or generally. Okay, I'm in the ad agency space. I guess would be seeing my billboards up. I was working on GAC Moto, the car, Lenny Pume China, and I've worked on that branding, and I've also worked on Mitsubishi. So to see as a kid, like, cause when we were growing up, time, and he's driving the car, it was definitely good. My neck is almost gonna break because I'm looking at all these billboards, I'm looking at the graffiti, and that for me. And I used to look at the billboards. One day I want to actually have my billboard, not physically me in it. That's still gonna happen, but a creative design I did, and that has happened in real time and in real life, and I've seen it, and on the highway that I used to pass as a kid, like drive through, and that for me.
What can we expect?
Oh yeah, I'm working this project that I've been working on. It's coming out to actually show me a lot about myself, which is hip hop for sure. Obviously SABC 6. So the project, the album is hip hop for sure, and it's got a lot of touches and fabrics, and fibers of all my upbringing together. So trying to piece it together, I wanted to tell my whole story from up until now, from growing where I've grew up, Kwaito, hip hop, all those South African influences. Yeah, you need to you feel it, you feel it that way. You need to feel, I want that energy, where without a doubt it's sounding like that. So been cooking out, and I cannot say a date when it's gonna come out. I have dropped a couple of songs on the DSPs that will be there, just a few. Magwadini is one of them. But yeah, there's a whole lot of tracks that I've been working on.
People in hip hop.
Yo, I think we need to come together, and you see, Piano has showed us good in SA. We have a very powerful nature within us when we together, when we all working together. And if you see the Piano Cats, they feature each other in tracks. And I'm not saying all tracks should be, features, but things that are going to be out in the mainstream consistently, guys need to feature each other, even if they by 6 good track, even if they by 20, it's just to keep, and you feature this one, move on to the next. So it's just that bubble melting pot. And I think if we can achieve that togetherness of working with each other, supporting each other, financially the hip hop can grow. And even overseas in other countries, they will actually now pay attention to us, because I kind of feel like the hip hop mentality we adopted is the Western Eurocentric agenda, that thing that gives you niggeritis. And I'll say this because it becomes individualistic in nature, all of us, even the niggas who do events. Nobody, I'm telling you, there's no promoters that have all children. Okay, let's have a meet, a session, a network, for all of them to come up and we could do 1 year event and this, because everybody's thinking about their pockets and, no, I'm gonna do this, I do this dope or better, and all of those stuff. We don't come together and be like, yo, let's just have a call. You're doing an event, I'm doing an event, you're doing, let's see how we can make this thing much bigger if we all put in our resources, and it's sometimes I've tried these things, but people have always showed you that, they want to do things for themselves. But I would say, yeah, let's have that togetherness spirit, and I guess it's Ubuntu. We need to bring Ubuntu in all spectrums of hip hop, and leave the niggeritis European Titus agenda, that kind of get the grips of us as being individualistic in nature. It's not within our characteristic.